The collapse of Ottoman control over the Middle East is a type of trauma today. From the zenith of Ottoman power in the 16th century to the gradual fragmentation of its empire by the early 20th century, the reasons for Turkish loss of the Middle East extend beyond military defeats, delving into the realms of political mismanagement, economic decline, social tensions, and the intrusion of global powers. The Ottoman Empire's domination of the Middle East began in earnest during the early 16th century under Sultan Selim. The decisive victory over the Mamluks in the Battle of Marj-Dabik and the annexation of key territories such as Egypt, Syria, and the Hejaz established the Ottomans as the unchallenged rulers of the Islamic heartlands. The Ottomans positioned themselves as the defenders of Sunni Islam, with the Caliphate bolstering their spiritual authority. For centuries, they maintained control over the region through a mixture of military strength, administrative organization, and religious legitimacy. However, the Middle East proved to be both a jewel in their imperial crown and a source of perpetual challenges due to its diverse ethnic and religious makeup, vast geography, and geopolitical significance. The Ottoman Empire's central authority began to weaken in the 17th century, a phenomenon often described as the decline thesis. While the narrative of decline has been nuanced by modern historians, it is undeniable that administrative inefficiencies, corruption, and a growing inability to integrate the empire's vast and diverse provinces took a toll. The Middle Eastern provinces, with their tribal structures and ethnic complexities, required a delicate balance of autonomy and central control. Ottoman governors often acted with significant independence, particularly in regions such as Yemen, Iraq, and the Arabian Peninsula. Local notables wielded considerable influence, often resisting Istanbul's authority. This decentralization weakened the cohesion of Ottoman rule, paving the way for the rise of local powers and foreign interference. The economic decline of the Ottoman Empire played a pivotal role in the erosion of Turkish control over the Middle East. The shift of global trade routes following the Age of Exploration diverted wealth away from the traditional Silk Road, which had been a lifeline for the region's economy. European powers like Portugal and later the Dutch and British dominated maritime trade, bypassing Ottoman-controlled territories. This economic stagnation weakened the empire's ability to finance its administration and military. Furthermore, the Ottomans were providing trade agreements granting Europeans favorable conditions, which had a name: the capitulations. It allowed foreign merchants to dominate local economies, undermining the Ottomans' economic sovereignty and fostering resentment among local populations. One of the most profound challenges to Ottoman rule in the Middle East came in the form of nationalism. Inspired by the European Enlightenment and the subsequent wave of revolutions in the 18th and 19th centuries, nationalist movements began to take root among various ethnic and religious groups within the empire. In the Balkans, these movements led to the secession of territories like Greece, Serbia, and Bulgaria. The Middle East experienced a similar rise in local aspirations, particularly among Arabs. Arab intellectuals inspired by the Arab Renaissance began advocating for autonomy or independence. The Ottomans' attempts to suppress these movements often backfired, exacerbating tensions and alienating local populations. The Young Turk Revolution of 1908 further complicated the situation. While initially seen as a progressive movement aiming to modernize the empire, the Young Turks' policies of centralization and Turkification alienated many Arab elites. These policies undermined the delicate balance of multiculturalism that had previously characterized Ottoman rule in the Middle East. Arab leaders, feeling sidelined and threatened, began to align themselves with emerging nationalist ideologies, laying the groundwork for later uprisings. European imperial powers played a decisive role in the unraveling of Ottoman control in the Middle East. By the 19th century, Britain, France, and Russia had established themselves as dominant forces in the region, exploiting the Ottomans' weaknesses to advance their own interests. The construction of the Suez Canal in 1869 further heightened the strategic importance of the Middle East, particularly Egypt, as a gateway to India and Asia. Britain's occupation of Egypt in 1882 symbolized the declining influence of the Ottomans in a region they had once ruled unchallenged. The British and French also engaged in covert diplomacy and alliances with local leaders to undermine Ottoman authority. The infamous Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916, for instance, secretly divided the Ottoman-controlled Middle East between Britain and France even before the end of World War I. Promises made to Arab leaders, such as those in the Hussein-McMahon correspondence, further eroded Ottoman legitimacy in the eyes of the local population. First World War marked the definitive end of Ottoman control over the Middle East. The Ottomans' alliance with the Central Powers placed them in direct opposition to Britain and France, who targeted the empire's Middle Eastern provinces as part of their war aims. The Arab Revolt, led by Sharif Hussein of Mecca and supported by Britain, dealt a severe blow to Ottoman authority. Lawrence of Arabia's campaigns, while dramatized in popular culture, symbolized the broader collaboration between Arab nationalists and European imperialists. The Ottomans' defeat in World War I culminated in the signing of the Treaty of Sèvres in 1920, which dismantled the empire and stripped it of its Arab provinces. While the treaty was later superseded by the Treaty of Lausanne, the territorial losses in the Middle East were permanent. The newly created mandates of Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and Iraq came under French and British control, marking the official end of Turkish dominance in the region. The loss of the Middle East was not merely a territorial setback for the Ottomans. It marked a profound shift in Turkish identity and geopolitical orientation. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's establishment of the Republic of Turkey in 1923 represented a deliberate departure from the empire's imperial ambitions. Atatürk's policies of secularism, nationalism, and westernization signaled a reorientation of Turkish priorities away from the Middle East and toward Europe. This shift left a void in the region that was quickly filled by European powers, and later, by the emerging Cold War superpowers. For the Middle East, the end of Ottoman rule ushered in a new era of colonial domination, fragmentation, and struggle for self-determination. The artificial borders drawn by European powers under the Mandate system ignored the region's ethnic, religious, and tribal complexities, sowing seeds of conflict that persist to this day. The legacy of Ottoman rule remains a contentious topic. While some view it as a period of stability and unity under Islamic governance, others see it as a time of exploitation and stagnation. The Turks lost the Middle East due to a confluence of internal decline, economic challenges, nationalist movements, and external pressures. The collapse of Ottoman control was not a sudden event, but the culmination of centuries of systemic weaknesses exacerbated by global transformations. While the Ottoman Empire's departure from the region marked the end of one chapter, it also set the stage for the Middle East's complex and often turbulent modern history. Understanding this loss is crucial for comprehending the enduring dynamics between Turkey and the Arab world and the region's broader geopolitical landscape.